For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by Steve Hook, host of The Right Hook, which you can find every Friday right here at 4 p.m. Eastern on X America News. How you doing this morning, Steve?
Oh, doing great. Just dealing with the world as it is, not as I wish it were.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, the People's Republic of California has spoken. The problem is it's going to take at least 10 days till we find out for sure exactly what it is they said. And that's not because it has to go through a bunch of translators or anything else. You know, they've got the state officials have to make sure the people in California voted the right way. But so far, it's looking like they did. Spencer Pratt advances to November runoff in LA mayoral race with strong second place finish. Declares the communists have already lost. I hope he's right. I don't see how Nikki Raman is going to overcome. I think currently he's up around 8.5 percentage points. Am a little surprised. Karen Bass came in first. I did think Pratt would win, not by a lot. I don't have his confidence level when the final vote gets in because I feel like all of Raman's voters are just going to get behind Bass no matter how many times she puts her foot in her mouth or what Spencer Pratt does, that there's just too many vote blue no matter who. And when you look at the corruption in their election system in California, I don't think Pratt's chances are great. I'm going to be honest.
Well, you may be right. And I mean, vote blue no matter who. I mean, hell, take a look at Plattner in Maine. There's another case study. I mean, even Schumer is backing him. I think Spencer Pratt has run probably the most effective campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Not just for the LA mayor, but really, I think he's changed campaigning going forward on all levels. I think he has really given a clinic on it.
Yeah.
Do I think he has a chance of winning? Yeah, maybe. I think that he does, but the problem is, herein lies the rub. Does he have a chance of winning if it were a fair election? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think it's going to be a fair election? No. California, you have to win 50% of the electorate or more in order to go uncontested. So if Bass had gotten that, she would effectively be the mayor already. She would have won re-election. She couldn't do it. Neither one of them could do it. But you're right. Rockman's, or whatever the hell her name is, she's Looney Tunes. She was on TV crying about it last night.
Yes.
A lot of them will naturally gravitate towards Bass, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that live in LA that are sick of her, and a lot of them want her gone. So we'll see. But, I think what they're doing, Michael, is I think they're running a trial run. They'll say, we'll stretch this out for 10 days. Then we'll say that, Rockman picked up a few more votes, but Pratt's going to win in the end. And that'll set us up for the general. And that's when all of a sudden these 10 days and We don't have a voter day here. Or an election day. We have an election month. And of course, they send ballots out to anyone and everyone that ever was on the rolls
Yep.
in California. Um, so yeah, do I think he's going to win? I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm also mindfully doubtful, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, as you kind of alluded to, the margin of victory has to be greater than the margin of fraud. And we already saw some election shenanigans in addition to the 10 days to count the votes in California. So we have this. Here we go again. Massive tranche of tens of thousands of LA votes yield 0 for Spencer Pratt. So as they were tabulating everything last night, um, there were several times where you'd have a vote update and they would go completely for Bass and Rahman. I don't understand how that's not possible. That is statistically impossible. If you have 10,000 votes and a popular candidate, this isn't a guy that was polling at 1% citywide or countywide, sorry. Um, so that is impossible that you would have tranches of 10,000 ballots or more come in with 0 Pratt votes. So already on the surface, it looks to be a little questionable, especially as we had stories breaking earlier in the day yesterday that as they started counting all the mail-in votes or going through them or whatever, that Pratt was ahead. And then lo and behold, we get the results and it appears that wasn't actually true once again, or something mysteriously happened. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's why I say, man. That's why I say this could be a dress rehearsal.
yeah. Well, I think it is, but it doesn't even, 10 days is nothing compared to they took over 30 days to count all the votes in 2024 in California. I think they stole somewhere between 3 and 5 seats that were longtime Republican seats held in, outside of LA and the open air mental asylum that is San Francisco and other areas like that. Um, where they kept counting for 30 days, and you know what? They just kept finding votes, but they were always for the Democrats. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, this is the other thing I don't understand with the mail-in vote, and they're saying that's why it's going to take 10 days. Have you ever mailed a letter within your own state where it took more than 2 days to arrive wherever it was going? Because I haven't. I mean, I'm sure things get lost occasionally, or fall off the not assembly line, but the conveyor belt, slide under a machine, and they're found 3 weeks later. That happens. But we can't hold things open for a month because one person's vote might have gotten lost. I know every vote counts and all that, but we got to be realistic here. There's obviously shenanigans going on there. I'll go ahead and call it now, but I do think Pratt still has a chance because, as you said, the people in LA are sick and tired of this shit that's been going on there for decades. Of watching Bass sit idly by where their communities burn down, take over a year to issue permits to rebuild. And keep in mind, a lot of that did not happen until Trump started putting pressure on them again a few months ago. They had only issued, I think it was 3 permits at like 10 months after the fires. And one of those 3, they actually applied for before the fire. The fire literally did this guy a favor, burned down the structure so he didn't have to have it demoed first. I mean, these people are wildly incompetent. The people of LA are tired of stepping over homeless drug addicts, needles, and shit in the streets. So, guys, get it together. Send a message and put Pratt in there. Maybe something will change. At the very least, it'll put some pressure on all your lefties to actually accomplish something.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And also, I think it's worth pointing out the gubernatorial run in California
Yep.
with Steve Hilton. Steve Hilton has a very strong chance of winning. And don't you know that if he does win, this election, this mayoral election in LA will immediately come under the microscope of his Justice Department in Sacramento, I would think. And I would think that, see, this is the thing, man. This is the problem with one party states. You almost, and believe me, I say this tongue firmly planted in cheek, Michael. It sounds like you're accusing the Democrats of doing anything to gain, maintain, and hold on to power. Now, surely
Yeah.
you know that there's honest, they're as pure as the wind-driven snow. They'd never do that. I mean, hell, they've even given a Nazi sympathizer a second chance. I mean, they're really good people, don't you know? Um,
Yes.
it's pathetic, but I do think that Pratt has you say, get over, you mentioned the word shit a couple of times. Well, when you can turn shit into lemon, when you turn lemons into lemonade, it's great. And Pratt actually used shit covered sidewalks with a stencil to show LA. How much did that cost him? He paid for a few stencils. He's power washes 100 places all over the damn city. And now all of a sudden it makes national, even international news. The guy is just on to something, and he's tapped into the general anger of, and I don't live in Los Angeles. I've been there several times, but I wouldn't want to live there. But I live in, I live in New Jersey. What can I say? So, but I'm getting out of here too. He's just really putting on a case study in how it should be done. And I think Los Angelinos, if given an honest shake, would probably elect him.
Yes. Yeah, and I hope that's what happens. And to your point, I do think that if it becomes evident that he's just steamrolling Karen Bass in the lead up to this election, that there won't be a way to steal it out from under him. That if
too big to steal, well, we'll see.
What was that? Sorry,
too big to steal. It would be
too big. Yeah, that may happen, especially again if all the polls show him far ahead. It's obvious that he has popular support from the people of LA, even if it's a bunch of Democrats holding their nose and voting for him because they still blame Karen Bass for allowing their homes to burn down, and Governor Newsom for not refilling these water reservoirs and everything else. So I mean, I could definitely see it happening there. It's just, again, right now, they've already declared Karen Bass the winner of the race, and they're saying, oh, we don't know yet. We don't know if there's enough votes in for Pratt. And even though, last I checked this morning, he was still 8.5 points ahead, but they still won't give it to him officially because, hey, there's 10 days, and they can stuff a lot of ballots in. I mean, we saw them on the streets registering homeless people. So there's a lot of buildings, that they had 10,000 ballots or whatever sent to from the city's homeless population. They got to make sure all those are filled out, and they got to make sure the signatures match and everything else. So there's not any no mean Republican comes in afterwards and points out, hey, you know what, these 50,000 ballots, something about these don't look right. How do all these people live in an empty lot in downtown LA? Wait a minute, these people are registered to vote at a public toilet. Does that fly? But yes, the margin
of victory in California, and it does in California, Michael. Of course, it flies because otherwise you're trying to, you're trying to suppress the vote. I mean,
right.
Look, all I can tell you is this: a month ago, I would have said it looks like the Republicans are going to lose the House and the Senate. A month later, after seeing what's happened in Minneapolis and all of those investigations, after seeing what's going on in California with Karen Bass and the way Spencer Pratt has caught fire out there, no pun intended, but he really has. And then seeing what's going on in Maine with this moron with the actual death head tattoo. I mean, good Lord, guys. I mean, that's the SS tattoo for concentration camp dudes that were, I mean, it's just sickening. And
the Totenkopf.
Yeah. My point is that it's one thing to say, oh, they're hypocrites. Of course they're hypocrites. I mean, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
But the problem for them, I think, is that, and largely because of people like Spencer Pratt who have made stuff go viral, the message is starting to hit the American people. And whether it's Karen Bass in California or whether it's this Plattner idiot out in Maine, people are saying, God, this party is batshit, absolutely over the moon crazy. At least I hope so.
Well, and at a national level, I would tend to agree. But again, the problem is the voters in a lot of these states. The little Nazi up in Maine. He just got, what was it? Bernie Sanders just came out and did stump speeches for him yesterday or the day before. I mean, they still have popular support. It doesn't matter what the nation thinks as a whole. These corrupt blue areas are still going to push their Democrats, no matter how tainted and corrupt, across the finish line. We're going to get to some other candidates that are advancing for the Democrat Party here later in the episode. But
in my state.
Yeah, we're going to get to your terrorist sympathizer candidate in New Jersey that the Democrats voted for. But yeah, it does go beyond that. Let me pull a couple of our next couple headlines here. But yeah, I'm not confident we keep the House. I don't think we lose the Senate. I think that's out of the question. Especially when you look at how many seats they'd have to take and who's defending. it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But the House, I'm not confident on yet because, again, a lot of these, unfortunately, Rhino candidates, especially ones that had already gotten through their primaries and then voted for things like, say, the Dignidad Act or whatever, where their support has collapsed in the polls. And a lot of these seats that were 2 to 3 point margins in 2024, people are not getting off their butts and going out to the polls, which in a lot of states, that again has been the case throughout these primaries. Not everywhere, but a lot of them, because they don't like the field. And this is the last thing, and then we'll move on to the gubernatorial race, that I've seen a few commentators kind of come to realize that, similar to you, like, Pratt has popular support because he's out there fighting. He punches the Democrats constantly. He is not nice to them, and he seems like a person that says what he means and will do the things he promised to on the campaign trail. And that's what Republicans want right now. They're sick and tired of these sissy nannies that will not fight, or people that run on a real conservative America First platform, and then once they get to Congress, their tails between their legs, and they will not advance our agenda. Instead, they're more worried about what the New York Times writes about them and what Democrats think about them.
True. I mean, well, and look, remember we talked about John Thune and how he was refusing to bring the SAVE Act to the floor and all this stuff and saying, I don't have the votes. Now, there may have been some truth in that, but the reason he didn't have the votes was because he was intentionally not whipping the votes. And John Thune has now got a big target on his back. And I remember saying the pressure is going to be brought to bear on him in a hard way, depending upon how these Trump endorsements goes, how the primary elections go. And with the exception of one guy yesterday that lost, and he lost to somebody that Trump will rally behind, Trump is batting pretty well in this primary season. So John Thune is feeling that pressure. But yeah, those people that would sell out the American people on the Republican side of the ticket, to keep the status quo, they've got to be crushed. Rhinos have to go. No question about it.
Yeah.
And John Thune's one of them, I think. And John Thune either gets in line or gets the hell out of the way. And I just don't see him doing that. So
I don't see him getting in line because he's not up for election until after Trump's out. We actually got another story about Thune and rallying support against Trump on a lot of these issues, something that just came out. So the Senate's already promising not to pass anything on Trump's agenda for the rest of the term. And I guess they've got the rhinos to do it unless there's a major shift in the balance of power in the Senate.
Rid of that weaponization package that Trump was talking about, and of course
that's already gone. Yesterday,
that's gone. That's because they don't want their dirty laundry out there, Michael. It's as simple as that.
Oh yeah, it's a big part of it for sure. Well, Fox News anchor Trace Gallagher stunned as Steve Hilton crushes expectations in deep blue Los Angeles County. Holy cow. And Steve Hilton leads California primary. Leads California primary for governor with Xavier Becerra in second place as vote count continues. So this is, again, something we kind of talked about a few times on the lead up to this election, that the Democrats would coalesce around somebody. I'm a little surprised it was Becerra, especially considering he is currently under investigation. He may not even be able to run when November gets here. Let me pull this up. I think I got this on my phone still. So he's part of it. I think it's a $225,000 fraud investigation, campaign fraud, donor fraud, I should say. And some other people that are involved with this have actually already pled guilty. There's a lobbyist, and then I think the other person was something Williamson. Have already pled guilty in the same case, which means they've probably turned state's evidence. So behind the scenes, the gears are turning. And again, he may not even be able to stay on the ballot. So I don't know how that works in California, if they just the Democrats get to insert whoever they want in that slot. But I am a little surprised that you had this sudden turnaround in a little over a week in the lead up to the election, because you'd had two Republicans at the top of the ticket. I did think that they would coalesce behind a Democrat. I'm just a little shocked it was him, especially after the billionaire there tried to. Well, you had what's his name? The billionaire.
Steyer.
Yeah, Steyer. Did you see this thing with the ballot and the order the names were on there for the California gubernatorial candidates?
I did not see that.
So Steyer is at the top. The number one position was Swalwell right under him, who is now off the ballot. Steve Hilton, there was 40-something people running. They put him in the fourth column in the middle on the opposite side. So you had to hunt for him if you wanted to vote for him. Same with, what's his name, the sheriff that was running, that was in second place for so long. They put him down in the middle somewhere. They have Katie Porter in the second column right at the top. So Democrats are obviously preferred. They want your eyes to go to them first, to recognize the name. They want all the stupid voters that are just going to vote for whoever they saw the most yard signs for, to make sure those candidates were at the top. Again, it's a weird coincidence how this just seems to happen all the time in California.
Well, the good news is California voters are apparently waking up to it, as judged by the numbers here, the turnout.
Yeah.
Especially as Trey, you said Gallagher was on Fox and said, "Holy cow!" Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense, given the fact that Trace and Steve used to work together closely at Fox, and plus, who would have thought that? Because I had seen one or two. You do these man on the street, coming out of the vote. And I CNN did one where they talked to a woman on Los Angelino, and she said she's definitely going to vote for Spencer Pratt. And then the reporter, trying to get her to say something to fix their narrative, says even with all of his outlandish, or some of his provocative campaigning, are you really still supporting him? She goes, "Yeah, he's real. He gets in the streets with us. He's like a new Trump." And they cut away from her real quickly.
Of course.
The same thing is happening in with the Hilton thing. People are saying, California voters are saying, "Well, I'm going to vote Steve Hilton for governor, or I'm going to vote Spencer Pratt for mayor, but I'm going to vote for the Democrat for governor." I saw that one on Fox.
Yeah.
So, but more and more Californians, those that have not already left California, and that's going to be a problem in the general, because they're that's part of the problem with these Republican parties in states like where I'm at. They shrink because their voter base leaves. But we'll see what happens. I think Hilton's got a very good chance in California, provided it's not rigged, which means he'll probably lose.
Yeah, I think he has a good chance too, especially if Becerra's already in jail. I think a lot of Democrats.
Hey, look. Let me just say this. I'm not trying to cut you off or filibuster here, but this is what a lot of people are saying is happening in Maine. That this Plattner idiot, even if he wins and gets over the hump, that they've got until the middle of July, the Democrat Party can just pluck him out of the ether and say, "You're out of here," and insert somebody else, and they could do that to him. So they may be just rallying behind him because they say, "We just get him over the line, and then we yank his ass out of there." That may be what the plan is in California with Xavier Becerra. We'll see. I don't know, but I wouldn't put anything past the Democrats. I wouldn't put anything past the Democrats.
Well, you're exactly right. And different states have different rules. So I did see some people talking about this in California. And one of the things that was brought up, and again, I don't know this, I'm not an expert on California election law. I've got a degree in political science, but that doesn't mean much when they change the rules constantly to suit their needs. And so one of the guys was arguing with the jungle primary system that they use in the People's Republic of California, that they can't just swap someone in because it was an open contest to all parties. Now, I don't know if that's what's actually written in the legislation or not, and you can bet your bottom dollar that they will, if that is how the legislation was written, they will find a way to get around it if Becerra gets hauled off in handcuffs somehow. But
there's lawyers already working on that, Michael.
I'm sure.
Already going through every possible loophole. Absolutely, that's happening as we speak.
Yeah, I have no doubt of that, especially if the writing's on the wall. And some of these prosecutors, I'm sure they're talking to their political buddies over there like, this guy is cooked. They've already got two people that have pled guilty in this same case. Yeah, if they haven't already. And that's the other thing a lot of people suspect. Again, why would you be taking this kind of plea deal so early on in the case? You didn't plan on, if you weren't leveraging some information that you had to lessen your sentence. But again, that's just common sense. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It'd be nice if Hilton was the only candidate on the ballot, and otherwise it was a write-in because, as most of you know, the majority of people in California can no longer read or write. So that would mean, anyway. Yeah, well, they probably have Spanish ballots there and, Chinese ballots and whatever else they need in California. But yeah, we got one other candidate that won in California that we need to talk about, and that's Nancy Pelosi's replacement. Far left extremist Scott Wiener, who decriminalized spreading AIDS and passed the pedophilia protection bill, advances in California primary to replace Nancy Pelosi. Um, what is wrong with California? I mean, this photo alone should have been enough to disqualify her. Check this guy's hard drive for CP immediately.
Yeah, yeah. This
But
guy. I mean, there's an irony here that this guy is replacing Pelosi.
yeah,
I mean, and it's good. It's actually a good irony for Nancy Pelosi because now she can literally say, "Oh, you thought it couldn't get worse than me? You thought I was bad? You haven't seen anything yet. Wait until we get the pedophile protector." And oh my God! But California, oh, what
yeah.
has become of you?
This guy has gotten behind some of the worst legislation we've seen in California. I should have checked to make sure, see if he was one of the people that co-sponsored the after-birth abortion bill over there. That for 30 days after giving birth, you could go back in and retroactively abort your baby. Have a doctor murder it.
I don't
'Cause he's
think
got-
I don't think there's anything that a guy like that would not support to prop up his own pride in his
Yeah.
complete and utter immorality and disdain for any kind of tradition, cultural cohesion, civil society. He is against all of that. This guy looks to, and done very little research on this guy, but I
Yeah.
read about him too. He seems like an absolute, not an anarchist, but a nihilist. And yeah, I believe he would support anything that would piss off the average white guy living in the suburbs.
Yeah. Well, I know he was one of the sponsors behind the bill to lower the age of consent in California to 14 years old, and also create protections for the NAMBLA crowd, the MAPS, as the left likes to call them, the minor attracted persons, so that if they were grooming your children even below the age of 14, I don't remember what the cutoff was for it or whatever. Now you guys can look that up, but that it would protect them from prosecution. Again, this guy's a problem. He is pro-child molestation. There is no getting around it. This isn't writing a law to, protect people in a Romeo and Juliet so-called situation like other states have. And again, I think that's fine. If somebody's like 17 and 19 or whatever, they've been dating through high school. We probably shouldn't make one of them a registered sex offender for normal things that happen. But no, this guy is a pedophile protector, make no mistake about it. But there's more and more in the Democrat Party that see that as their duty to protect the MAPS, because after all, they're just another oppressed class. Right, Steve?
Yeah, these are the kind of people that absolutely despise people of faith, because what he's trying to do is normalize something that can never be normalized, and
Yeah.
something that will always has been, quite frankly, always has been looked upon as abnormal and immoral and evil. And he's trying to make it sound like, oh, you're being judgmental. You need to look past these differences. You need to understand that not everyone thinks the way you do. It's his way of alleviating his own guilt. It's their way, I should say. That's the way
Yeah.
the left thinks. If they can just make anything that it would normally, for thousands of years, seem immoral or wrong, they'll fight against that every time. This is why we had the pronoun argument. This is why we had the you must allow biological males into locker rooms and restrooms and in sports and all the rest of it, all the other crap that goes with it. They want to normalize the abnormal. And most
Yep.
normal people don't go for it. But a lot of normal people don't live in that district. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest. Come
Well,
on,
they've
San
just been
Francisco.
they've just been so brainwashed that they do think that this is the modern day civil rights. It's protecting all the gays and all the other mentally ill people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think there's less and less support for it right now. I mean, we're in the middle of Groomer Awareness Month, formerly known as Pride Month, right now, and you're not seeing the big public demonstrations or other stuff. I mean, I can't remember what lefty state it was that the gays are all upset right now because they don't have the pride flag up at the state capitol this year like they have for the last several years. So when even some blue-leaning states are easing off of it, you don't have all the Target transgender swimsuits the tuck underwear and the bras. And
Michael, let me ask you a question for real, short and sweet.
sure,
How shocked are you that this backlash against the LGBTQ plus 1A, you know,
MS-13, yeah.
MS-13? I mean, how shocked are you that this backlash came? Anybody with a thimbleful of common sense could have seen that what was happening was bound to lead to blowback.
Yep.
And it has. And they have hurt their cause more than they ever hoped to help it. And
Oh
frankly,
yeah.
I know plenty of gay people and a couple of lesbian that were totally against this embrace of the trans and embrace of the pronouns and embrace of the push every sports league to fly the flag. They knew
For
it.
sure.
That they said this is not what most gay people are about.
Yeah.
But you get these, the tiny minority, and it screwed them.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you're right. I think they were their cause so-called was set back a long time, because they put the mentally ill forward. And make no mistake, I mean, if you're trans, or you think you're trans, you are mentally ill. That's the real underlying problem, and that's how we have to address it. Honestly, I think the part of the reason we've had so many assault trannies in the last 12 months is because of the pushback, because they were put up on a pedestal by the left for 4 years or longer. Under the Bidens, it was being pushed out to your kids. Now all of a sudden they're seeing the country never was behind this. That the only reason there wasn't more pushback then was tyranny from the Biden regime, attacking parents at school boards, going after these groups that were organizing to keep the porn out of libraries, things like that, the SPLC and others. That is the only reason that right now, the reason you're seeing more of them just snap, lose their mind, open fire on people, is because before they were held up on a pedestal, and now all of a sudden there's accountability, and they see that the country really is not all behind them and all about elevating them to new positions of power. The illusion's gone, and they can't handle it.
Yeah, this started, well, it didn't start. Let me rephrase that. I think this really came to a head. You could make the case for Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney, but I'll tell you when I think it really, really all of a sudden started to kind of change in the mind of the zeitgeist, as it were, when the Nashville shooter went in and killed those kids, and the police sat on that quote unquote manifesto and did not want to release any info on that. And that was specifically kept quiet so as not to cause quote unquote transphobia.
Yep.
Once that happened and the truth of that came out, and we all suspected it, we talked about it. I think many people just said, you know what, that's it. I've had enough of this crap. And yet that was just the first. Many more have followed since then. Trans shooters, trans mass, whatever.
Yeah.
And
well, I think also, the other thing I really think kind of soured people on this was the last one in Canada, the last assault tranny up there, where his mom had given him the guns and all that other stuff. Because you watch the media try to cover it up and dance around it. Same with this mosque shooters in California. That story zipped out of the headlines faster than I thought ever possible, since the religion of peace was attacked. However, the minute people started uncovering some of these photos of the two of them not looking so straight, story gone. And I think that's the case, that people have had it with it. It's an obvious pattern. But let's shift back to your home state of New Jersey, where you guys have you guys are showing how progressive you are by putting a terrorist or terrorist sympathizer, depends on your view of him, giving him the power to run and represent America. Breaking: Muslim socialist with ties to Al-Qaeda terrorist wins New Jersey House primary, or House primary in New Jersey. Yes, this guy was a translator, and some people are calling him a character witness for the blind sheikh during his trial. And he didn't really address this much during the first part of his campaign. Annie and I spoke about him about last week when she was on. And, now he's saying, oh, well, I was young and dumb. But there's been no apology, no whatever, no rebuke of what he stood for then. He just wanted the story to go away. And guys, once again, he slipped past the Democrats were like, wow, look at this poor abused minority. He's oppressed. He's a Muslim. He lives here in America. Yeah, of course, we need to elevate him and give him an opportunity to be our representative. What the hell is going on in New Jersey, Steve?
Well, first of all, understand that where he ran, it's kind of like, we're shocked that a pedophile protector would be running and doing well in San Francisco. Well, that's kind of
Yes.
like, this area of New Jersey. And by the way, I just want to correct one thing real quick if I could. It's not my home state. It is where my home is now. I live here, but my home state, my birth state is Georgia, which
Okay.
has its own issues. But I'm moving out of here as soon as I can. So I leave it to the good people of the Garden State to fix the mess that they have made.
Yeah.
This guy is you said, is he a terrorist? I don't think he's a terrorist. Is he a terrorist sympathizer? Does he want to bring about that kind of rule to New Jersey? Yes, I think he absolutely is. And it doesn't surprise me that where he was voted in, he's in the most cobalt blue district in the entire state, which is saying something because the state is pretty blue, except for where I live now. The
Yeah.
Central Jersey area, Central Jersey Shore area, which is where I live, is very, very red. I mean, we could be in, we could be in Texas or Florida. It's so red. And ironically, a lot of people from the area where I live are now moving to Texas and Florida. So what does that tell you? But this guy doesn't come as a shock to me. Understand, Michael, these people that are voting for him, they believe they agree with
Yeah.
him. They hate
Yeah.
America too. They hate the United States. They hate, I mean, wait till you see the way New Jersey celebrates America's 250th birthday. Simply because Trump is in office, they will shit on it. I
Yeah, of
promise you they
course.
will.
Oh yeah.
There'll be events. There'll be events at the crossing of the Delaware down at Trenton and stuff. We'll see all that, but it will not. I was 14 years old and in 1976 during the bicentennial. 13, strike that. 13 years old during the bicentennial, and I remember it. It was everywhere. You couldn't get
Yeah.
away from it. But because Trump is in office, they're going to downplay the 250th, which is a bigger anniversary. They'll downplay it, and and people like this idiot get elected into blue states because people who hate America are going to vote for him, and they do in that part of the state. It's
Yeah. Well, you
it's
hit the
why
nail
everyone's
on the
furious.
head. The people that vote for this guy are the kind of people that hate America. And whether this guy is full flavored Al Qaeda or Al Qaeda light really doesn't matter. It's still where his values are.
Yeah, well, you know what
Maybe,
they'll tell you, though, Michael. I'll just tell you this: being in New Jersey, I would just say this: they'll tell you they love America, and they will absolutely mean it. They will shake their
yeah,
fist in your face and dare you to question their patriotism. And that's why I hate Trump so much. You see, that's what it really is they despise Trump. So anything that is as far away from Trump as you can get, they're going to embrace it because to them, it's worth it. It
yeah,
doesn't matter if he's got a Nazi tattoo. It doesn't matter if he protects trans. It doesn't matter if he watched people's houses burn down and let people crap in the streets of LA. It doesn't matter. So long as they hate Trump as much as I do, he's got my vote. And this guy
yeah.
certainly qualifies for that.
Yeah, the cognitive dissonance we see on the left is like unbelievable. They will vote for literal terrorists or terrorist sympathizers or people that have already destroyed their city and their state just because the alternative to them is unthinkable. And then they will go out there and virtue signal, pretend they love the country, even though their actions betray
Yeah,
their real
screw him.
thoughts. But yeah, again, I think we just need something needs to happen. I don't know what exactly that is, but all these lefties, I think we just should shove them to one state and we need to bring back mental asylums. Let's be real. Let me look at this. Man running for Congress in Florida sells 8647 merch, threatens to dox J6ers and unhinged videos. They deserve an effing noose. So this is one of the many Democrats that's running right now, and I'm not aware of any that are in office currently, but this is one of several that's also promising additional prosecutions for J6 defendants. Because, guys, remember, anybody that wasn't covered by the initial pardon because they were already being prosecuted for actions taken on January 6th, they're open, and all they have to do is make the case that it was a conspiracy, which they've already tried to do, and I'm sure they will point back to numerous convictions, and then they can start going after people again. Doesn't matter the statute of limitations, that moves it up another 5 years. So again, if we let people like this get power, That is what's going to happen. And you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to be going after anybody that spoke out against the Democrats or did anything meaningful to support Trump for the last 4 or 5 years. You guys are all going to have a bullseye on your back. Especially, if you had a yard site out in front of your house, you're probably going to get a knock at the door and an invitation to a non-voluntary invitation to a re-education camp.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. This guy seems to be, judging by that picture of that very weird looking dude, he seems to really be enjoying the lap of luxury that capitalism and America has provided him while he
Yeah,
sits
that
all
pool in the
alone.
background.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's a Florida room with the pool, indoor outdoor pool. He's doing very well for himself as he dumps all over the country that made all that possible. I
Yep.
I don't think he's I don't I've never heard of this guy. I don't know where he's running in. If he is he running for
Tampa.
state? Is he running for the state house or
He's running
something?
in Tampa. He's not going to win,
Yeah, he's not going to win.
but yeah, I mean, this is who they are. This is their
Yeah,
mask off
it does
candidates.
give you a window into their soul, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And I guess that's my thing. Because again, he's not the only one. We've tried to highlight a few of these just whack jobs that are running on the left in different places. But the problem is, several of these whack jobs that we've pointed out won their primaries, which means now they're the Democrat candidate. And there's a few of them they're going to get in the House. That's really all there is to it. But again, keeping as many of them out as we can. And I don't, again, we've got to reshape something with the Democrat Party. They're just totally off the rails now. They're being led around by the fringe part of the party. But I think a lot of the reasonable ones have left. The money's all coming from the fringe base. So
What little
this is
money there is, by the way. I
yeah,
mean, if we're honest, I mean that's also a good measuring stick, I think, of a party's health.
yeah,
Look how much the GOP has banked, or the RNC has banked, and compare it to the DNC,
yeah,
and I mean, they just don't have any money. A lot of their big donors have pulled away um, for all the right reasons, but it's these niggling NGOs that are
yeah,
just kind of going, you got to listen to us, and they're gonna do that because that's their only, and the Democrats are falling for it because they've lost their base. They've got to fall
yeah.
for it. They've got to balkanize. They've got to come up with different dependent classes and different. It's all about divide and conquer to hold power. I don't know why anybody, regardless of race, sexual orientation, any of that crap, why you
Yeah.
would fall for this party. I just don't. But that's me.
Especially when they're putting forward bills like this and passing them. California Assembly passes the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Radical Democrats move to criminalize investigative journalism and shield massive immigration services fraud. So this so far has only gone through their House, the Assembly in California. However, they have the votes in the Senate. And again, you can bet your bottom dollar Newsom's going to sign this into law, even if he's made a couple of statements to the media questioning if this was necessary. Again, I think that was to run cover during specific interviews, but whatever. Not my problem, not my circus, not my monkeys. But we're already seeing other states want to emulate stuff like this where they can prosecute journalists. Again, this, I don't know if you can call it credentialism, you can call it just controlling the narrative, but they're basically, essentially, their goal is going to be to have some sort of a party approved press pass, basically, in states that they control, so they determine who gets to be the media, who gets to cover things. And gosh, if you investigate their fraud, or they can somehow pretend there was a racial, ethnic, or religious bias in your reporting, that you're the one that's going to go to jail. Minimum $10,000 fine. And again, Shirley's out there doing the work the mainstream media refuses to do on their own. We need more journalists like Nick Shirley and Nick Sorter. And Right Side Rebel and others that are actually out there reporting what's really going on in the streets. The street pollers, the people that are going to the ICE facilities and covering these moonbats in New Jersey and elsewhere. We need more of this, not less. More people going in, knocking on the doors of the Leering centers and asking questions and forcing accountability. I mean, James O'Keefe should be running CNN right now. But that would never happen. There'd be a wave of suicides among the left if all of a sudden somebody like him was given that level of power.
Yeah. Well, look, there's a reason that California is trying to push through this blatantly unconstitutional anti-First Amendment bill. There's a reason for it, because Nick Shirley showed how effective it is,
Yeah.
because James O'Keefe, frankly, has shown how effective it is, because social media, platforms like X, platforms like Rumble, other platforms are showing how effective it is. Here's what's going to happen in California. If that passes the state Senate, which I think you're right, it will,
It will.
Gavin Newsom is going to have a question. And the question is, do I want to sign this bill into law knowing that the DOJ, at the federal level, will immediately come against it? And they will,
Yes.
because it is blatantly anti-First Amendment.
Yes.
That bill, it would, if written into law, would make what Nick Shirley did in Minneapolis a crime, punishable by prison time. So
Yeah.
to show the taxpayers of Minneapolis that they were getting completely rooked by some very crooked Somali immigrants, but also some very crooked Minnesota politicians, that
Yeah.
would be considered a crime. And the federal DOJ is not going to stand around and watch that happen. But this is, it kind of goes back to the theme, doesn't it? They're all about gaining and maintaining and holding on to power. It's
Yes.
pathetic.
Yeah, that is the altar they worship at. That is the only thing they're interested in. Gavin Newsom is going to sign this, and he's going to make a big case when he does, arguing that journalists like this, they're not uncovering the truth. They're out there with an agenda to harm minorities. You bet your bottom dollar.
Tell that to Scott Pelley at 60 Minutes.
Yeah, I know he's out there
you know,
crying right now.
Yeah, screw him. They've used the public's opinion of the mainstream media is lower than whale crap right now. So there is no way that they could make the case that this guy isn't a real journalist when they can't point to a single real journalist on CNN or whatever. Maybe there's a few scattered here and there, but believe me,
There's a couple.
on the overnight B panel discussion shows, they're certainly not promoted within their ranks, and it's just BS.
Agreed. Well, let's check in on our little socialist friends in Seattle, see what they're up to right now. Seattle builds tiny homes village for city's homeless drug users displaced by FIFA World Cup. Yes, if you want to be a homeless drug addict and your life goal is to live in a tiny house, aka a garden shed, right now you can head to Seattle and you just might be lucky enough to get one. Yeah, you're gonna have to step over a lot of fentanyl addicts and needles and human poop to get there, but you too could live in a tiny house village courtesy of Seattle. I wonder what these things cost to build.
I don't know, but they look like converted dumpsters. I mean,
They probably are.
That's what they look like.
It'll feel familiar to the homeless drug addicts. It'll be the home away from home. It'll be just like what they came from.
The most nauseating thing about progressives that live in states like Oregon and Washington and California and wherever in New Jersey is that they are absolutely convinced of their own morality and superiority. And they would tell you that what they're doing is being, hey, look, these people were displaced because our city's about to make hundreds of millions of dollars off the World Cup. So in order to alleviate the fact that we're about to be counting money as fast as we can, we're going to build little dumpster sites for these people to come and live in. And see, we self-congratulate ourselves, pat ourselves hardly on the back and say, look how compassionate we are. Instead of going to the root of the problem and saying, why are there so many homeless people? That's why Spencer Pratt, again, getting back to him, this is what his message is.
Yeah.
Why don't you address the you mentioned fentanyl. Why don't you address the addiction issue here? And by the way, if you're going to address the addiction issue, why are you putting it on the taxpayers' backs? Why don't you put it on the, why don't you litigate this and get these people off the streets or whatever? But they can't do that. They just, simple acts of faux compassion is all it takes for morons in Seattle, Washington, I guess.
Yeah, well, you're right. And well, we got another one for you here. Vandals strike Seattle's $116,000 smart toilets just weeks after installation. And again, they were put in for FIFA to try to impress everybody. Now, you and I were talking off air. Like, I want to know what a $116,000 smart toilet does. Because I've seen, videos on YouTube of these Japanese self-cleaning toilets that spray water up your ass. They have a built-in bidet and all this other stuff. And then those cost like like I don't know, between 2 and maybe 20,000 on the high end. I'm sure you can find one that costs more. If the Japanese robo toilet is, let's call it 20K, what does $116,000 toilet do?
It gets vandalized. That's what
Yeah.
it does. It especially is getting vandalized. It's first of all, this is a cultural difference in Tokyo or in any part of Japan. If you go there and they say,
Yeah.
look, we're going to spend $1 million for this toilet that is going to bring itself down to ground level and go underneath the surface of the sidewalk so it's not obtrusive. It's going to be totally power washed. It's going to be antibacterialized. It's going to be blown dry, and then it's going to shoot back up and you'll get in it. Well, guess what? Nobody will vandalize that. You know why? Because if
High
you ever
trust
walk down the
society.
street, it is the cleanest damn big city. And it is a big city, and culturally they appreciate things. But to liberals, the real problem with that toilet is why it was put there. I would imagine it's put there for FIFA, put there for the World Cup. Therefore, it's part of the problem. It represents capitalism. We must destroy it.
Yes.
I mean, and then of course there's just the homeless drug addicts that don't give a damn and will destroy anything.
Yeah. This toilet was built on the backs of indigenous people of color all around the world. It represents colonialism and imperialism, and that's what the left thinks. So it's okay to destroy the toilet that their communist socialist mayor just had put in with your money. But again, you can't expect these people to make any kind of sense whatsoever. I wonder how many trees destroying these toilets cost. I wonder how much Amazon rainforest burned down in the creation of this toilet or these toilets at 116. And I want to know what the total is and what they spent on these magic toilets. And I still want to know what you get for $116,000. What does this do? Do you sit down and it gives you a shower and brushes your teeth?
Well, I don't know if I'd trust it to brush my teeth. I'd barely trust it to take a leak in, but I would tell you, especially living in that neighborhood. I mean, it looked like that picture that you showed had like the window was busted out. I'm sure there's spray painting. I'm sure it's been tagged a few times.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we didn't get to see the beautiful interior. It's probably just completely destroyed as well. I mean, you can't. Smart toilets are one thing, but smart toilets with dumb people, that's never going to work. And, there you are.
I mean, I guess that's what happens again when you have toilets brought to you by Antifa. But whatever,
Exactly.
Everything's upside down backwards. Well, the left is melting down and promising lawsuits over another Trump executive order. Trump says bank accounts enabling illegal aliens to defraud the U.S. on welfare and send money overseas will be shut down. And he didn't just say this. This is an executive order that's already passed. And here we go. Let's grab the rest of this story. President Trump orders Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to freeze and seize illegal alien bank accounts in historic assault on cartel-backed border invasion. And again, this should have been done a long time ago. I also think we need let's call it, 95% tax on remittance, that you're sending money overseas above a small amount. Because again, I know that there's some people that lawfully immigrated here and maybe they send their relatives back in, I don't know, the Philippines, $1,000 once a year just to help out with the cost of living there. And because, there are a lot of countries that are experiencing the same thing we are with deflation and other monetary problems. Like, I don't want to hit people that are sending small amounts of money to relatives they have overseas or something like that they're just trying to help out their family back home. However, when you're here to enrich yourself, you're on the taxpayer's back. You're using stolen Social Security numbers. You're not paying taxes, and you're sending back, sometimes 50% or more of what you're earning here back to, whatever hellhole you came from. That's a real problem. We need to disincentivize that. There's got to be ways to do it, and I think seizing these accounts, especially these foreign accounts that are getting deposits, that's the first step in the process.
Yeah. Sounds an awful lot like money laundering, doesn't it?
It really does.
There's a reason for that. But, here's the thing. the story, the anecdotal story you told about the person saying, "Hey, listen, Feliz Navidad. Here's $1,000. I know it's tough down there,
Yeah,
or wherever the hell they're from. I get that. Those are the only stories the media will show you.
of
That's
course.
the only stories those are the they will say, go out and see that big haystack, find the needle story in there that makes the sympathetic case why Maria was perfectly legit in sending money back home to her poor dying mother in Guadalupe or whatever it may be. And I'm
Yeah,
not trying to be flippant here, but that's the way the media works. The reality is they will ignore the cartel slush funds. They will
yes,
ignore the money being sent in mass out overseas. And then, by the way, they'll also ignore the kickbacks coming back to the politicians in the U.S. that make all of this perfectly fine and are willing to take the federal court to court over it. And
yeah,
that's what this is all about. Again, sticking with the theme, protecting the money, which is protecting the power. That's all Democrats give a damn about. They don't give a shit about poor people living in Guadalupe. They don't
yeah,
care about Maria's grandmother. They care about the filthy lucre that this money fund, this slush fund. This is why they hated when Doge was around with the Elon and he went into USAID and discovered all this crap.
yeah.
You're starting to drain their pockets, man, and it's hitting them.
Yeah, honestly, while you're talking, I'm starting to think this doesn't go far enough. I think anyone that's here illegally, period, we ought to be taking 100% of their assets, anything here on U.S. soil, any bank accounts we can gain access to, and using that as a further incentive for these people to self-deport. We had that app. Trump was going to buy you a ticket and even give you what was it, 1,000 or I can't remember now. I think the amount might have gone up per family member that we were kicking out of the country, and you were going to self-deport, and that way in 10 years, if you really wanted to, you could come back lawfully and visit.
Yep.
Well, maybe it's time to shut down that program and start getting serious, to start to seizing these bank
That
accounts.
program worked with a lot of people, but it didn't work with nearly
Yeah,
enough because Democrats told everybody you're being conned and all this. It's just
yeah. Again,
look, Michael, there are people that have got that are immigrated even illegally that if we met face to face all this, we might both agree there's sympathy to be had in this
nope,
particular
I'd
case.
still kick them out. I don't care how sympathetic they
I'm
are.
not saying you wouldn't, but this is the blowback because of what happened. It's one thing to have a couple of 100,000 of those people come across the border annually and they get lost in the system and they become good citizens. That does happen, but unfortunately, that's the exception, not the rule. And of course, the Biden administration blew that border wide open just to rewrite the rules. That's why they did it, for God's sakes. So, yeah, I don't know about kicking everybody out and taking all of their assets, but I certainly agree that cracking down on the money they're sending overseas is massive. Got to stop that crap.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If you're here illegally getting money, I think it's time to just take it all. There's got to be a penalty and kick them the hell out. That's better than spending money on them in our jails to enforce things. I'd rather just get them out of the country, take all their assets, get their biometrics. And if they ever cross the border into the U.S. again, they're killed on sight. Once you verify who they are, you just take them out back and put a bullet in their head.
God almighty, Michael, you are
well, that'll solve the problem once and for all. If we've got your biometrics and you've already broken our laws and you're here, you clearly can't be trusted. And if you're back again, we have to assume it's for nefarious purposes, right? It's either to defraud the American people once again or whatnot. And I think, again, you confirm their biometrics, you give them their last meal, you take them out, and you put a bullet in their head. And that will solve the problem.
Well, yeah, it will. It may create more problems, but I understand your frustration with it.
Well, I don't think it would create more problems.
And by the way, it's not just yours. You're seeing it in London. You see what happened with that Tommy Robinson march a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Not even
yesterday. Look, they had a huge one there yesterday too.
What's going on with this Henry Nowak murder?
Yeah.
And this, by the way, go take a look at what's happening in France now. It's just people are pushing back, and that can only be a good thing. But if you push back to the point where you just start taking people and mowing them down, you're treading on pretty dangerous ground, I think.
I think if we dispensed a few lead aspirins, you wouldn't have people coming in mass over again. That it would only take a couple fools trying to enter the country after being deported once again. A couple high-speed lobotomies, and you're not going to have anybody but the worst of the worst criminal element over, and I don't really care about them anyway. We ought to just shoot them on sight. But yeah, I think otherwise, if we start getting the biometrics, and when somebody shows back up again, we confirm who they are, and then you execute them. They already knew the terms. It's not like it's going to be a surprise to them. They took the risk, and this will shut down the other mass migration. I mean, again, you may have a few idiots out there that still that are economic migrants, quote, just good family people that just want a better life for themselves, that are too stupid to heed the warning.
Yeah,
but again,
you don't kill somebody for being stupid, Michael.
I would. I mean, I certainly would. If they won't follow our laws and are showing us that they are a repeat problem, you got to deal with it. And things have gotten to the level, I think, where we just can't be nice about it anymore. I mean, there's 30 million people here illegally right now, roughly 25 to 30 million. So the problem is not going to fix itself.
I'm saying you don't execute 30 million people. That makes you worse than Hitler. You do enforce the laws, though. I agree with you there.
Well, we'd only be executing them if they came back after being deported.
Okay, well then let's cut it down to 10 million. You execute 10 million? I wouldn't.
I mean, I would. Yeah, if we had 10 million come back, it's still it's not frustration.
The unintentional consequences of that.
Do anything, and they're not all going to be coming from one country.
Well, it'd be civil war if nothing else. You would get people that would say absolutely no to that.
Yeah, I'm sure you would.
Say absolutely no to that.
Well, I don't think they would if it fixed the problem. And again, it would be something that you wouldn't be enforcing very often. It would be more about making.
I'd like to think we can fix it before it got to that. And
we don't seem to be able to, and that's kind of why we've got to go with solutions that actually work.
You're talking about the people that are still here.
Yeah.
And as long as you have a Democratic Party, and as long as you have the left, doesn't even matter the Democrats, could be Labor in London, it could be whoever. Yeah, as long as you have that mindset, and you have lawyers in the world, and good God, we live in the most litigious society on the planet right now in the United States, you're going to have lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And it's all well and good to say we should do this, we should do that. That'll get caught up in court for years and years. So I think the best way to do it is to do what Trump did with regards to sealing the border, which he did great, brilliant job with that. I think it also was very helpful to take out Maduro the way he did for a number of reasons, but that's one of them, because he was unleashing hell into our country too. But once you start talking about taking families out that were stupid enough or hopeless enough to cross the border more than once, that's now you're treading into a pretty dangerous ground, my brother.
No, I don't think so. Again, we need to actually, again, they already had a chance. You don't give people chances over and over again. So they already knew the terms, and that's how I think most people would look at it.
Not even North Korea would do that. Now, if you tried to break out of North Korea, they might do that. But
I think North Korea would do that. They do that.
Well,
you cross illegally.
Trying to break into North Korea.
And actually, there are a bunch of countries.
You would put the United States on par with North Korea and China and some of the most despotic hellholes in the world if you started killing people en masse, is what I'm saying.
But I'm okay with that. And I think a lot of people are, especially a lot of younger people. Like, again, we're tired of not dealing with the problem. And I don't think it would be en masse, like you keep saying.
Assassinated because all of a sudden violence seems to be, yeah, you know what? In this case, violence works. I don't know if violence ever works.
It does. Oh, no. Violence always works. Power always works. That's who wins conflicts and who writes the rules.
Well, yes, it does. Always in the short term, but there's always blowback to it.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not so sure about that either. But, again, we've got to actually solve the problem in a way that makes sense and actually works. And I think something like this, again, you've given them a warning. They're coming back. They're ripping off the system once again, or here illegally working under the table.
I know it's a hypothetical, Michael, but I'm telling you right now, bro, most people are not going to go for that. They're not going to go for that. They're not.
I'm not convinced.
Let's kill anybody who crosses. Well, okay, because just as I mentioned how they're going to show all of the money that's being sent over there by young Maria or young Esteban or Jorge or
I know the media.
They're going to show. Look at this 8-year-old girl who was brought over the border twice by her father against her will, but because he was her father. And guess what? We've now executed her and her family, and I don't have a problem with that. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people are going to have a problem with that.
Oh no, I think most people will be fine with that. Oh no, I think most people will be fine with it, because I don't think it's going to be a lot of Maria, whatever. Maybe with Maria, maybe we emulate the Spartans and we push her off. The military adopts her. She has to become a soldier, or we just parachute her back into whatever country she came from. But if maybe the solution is if you're over 18 and continuing to break the law and re-enter the country. Maybe if you're a minor, you don't get the bullet yet. But if you're over 18 and you're going to continue to break,
now you're waffling. No, listen,
well,
I understand this is all hypothetical, and we're just kind of.
I'm not being hypothetical. I'm actually trying to push this legislation through with people. I'm being serious. Well, I think it will. I think people will. Radical problems require radical solutions. And we are at a point where what's going on is totally unacceptable. And
it's going to have to get a lot more radical than it is right now. It may be radical in places like San Francisco and places like Newark and places like Minneapolis. But that's why people are fleeing those places.
Well, and I guess this is also the other thing.
Those places that live in places like Beaufort, South Carolina, or live in little communities like, Gadsden or something. And they hear you say this and they go to church every Sunday, they're going to say that is absolutely murderous.
Well, they're part of the problem too then. And, again, we've got to actually fight to win. And again, I wouldn't expect this to actually happen in mass. I mean, that seems to be what you keep focusing on. But this would be small numbers.
The policy sounds like it justifies the killing of the culling, basically.
Yeah.
And I just that
it does
way too close to Hitlerian. It smacks of Stalin purges, Pol Pot's killing fields. I just will never get
and that's going to be how the left portrays it. But I don't really care about
man.
No, it wouldn't be. This is consequences. This isn't going after innocent farmers or whatever. This is people that already broke the law. They already know the consequences, yet they came back for more. So they made a choice. That's how.
What state of the nation is trespassing a capital offense?
Well, it would be at our border if you've already done it before. And there's plenty of times. Well, trespassers get shot all the time. I mean, when they come and break into your house to steal things from you, people get shot all the time.
That's castle domain. That's castle.
But it's the same thing here. They're breaking into our country to steal from us. Yeah, so treat it the same way.
Well, we'll see how that legislation moves along.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think people want actual solutions. I also think, again, we are tired of the left controlling the narrative, and we're always on the defense. So this is a way to put them on the defense. And again, it's not going to be large numbers if this happens. Most people are going to get the message. You tell them, hey, you show up again here because you've already violated our laws. Now we're going to kill you. So you're giving them an opportunity. They are choosing to come back and be executed. It is their choice.
I just don't like that. It just doesn't smell right to me. It doesn't taste right. It just seems wrong.
Yeah.
I think there's ways of dealing with this that you can make things just as equally as not equally as consequential. Nothing is as consequential as a bullet to the back of the head, but you make things very consequential to some of these folks that continue to violate. Say, okay, you wanted to come to the country. We told you were out. Now, guess what? You're in the country, but you're going to be in a supermax for the next 25 years.
And then it costs us a fortune. Whereas a bullet is,
believe me, you would lock less people up in supermaxes and make that case back to everybody back in their country than you would by killing them in mass. I just am telling you.
Well, it's going. Then it's still better than where a lot of them are coming from. Even being in a supermax, at least they got 3 meals a day and a roof over their head at our expense. We don't gain it.
That of course would. I'd just like to add that I'm not talking about the guy that has been absolutely devastated by his own government, that has been that now has to leave because he cannot support his family. I don't agree with those people just willy-nilly crossing the border. They should do it legally. And in fact, they should do it to the first country they come to. In this case, in many cases, Mexico. If you're coming from Honduras, guess what? You got to go to Mexico. That's where you claim asylum. And I get your point. But this is why the left did what they did at the border. And now, as you're saying,
no.
I'll tell you what, if you want to really play your scenario out, the people that you need to take behind the courthouse aren't the poor people coming from Honduras and El Salvador. It's the people that pushed legislation and pushed open borders to begin with. They're the ones that need to be dealt with. I don't know if they need to be dealt with a bullet. I don't know if I'd go that far, but they certainly need to be locked up for it.
Well, and that is a good place to start. But again, it won't fix the problem. But I do think a lot of them should be tried for sedition, if not treason. It's treason if you involved a foreign enemy of America, and then same thing, they should be hung. And otherwise, again, like, we've got to actually get serious and solve this problem, or it is just going to continue. I do think the people that orchestrated this, whether they're from an NGO or within government or dispensing funds or whatever, that they should be tried for sedition, and if possible, treason. And
that's when the circle closes, because again, getting back to my point, we live in a litigious country. So no matter
we already have laws on the books, though, for a lot of this.
I know we do. But they will sue to change the law. They will change the law. Look what they're doing in California with regards to the Nick Shirley bill.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about the Constitution. Are you kidding me? If they gave a damn about the Constitution, they would have do their duty when they swore an oath to it.
And again, this is what gets back to what I keep saying, is that's why we need actual enforcement, actual consequences. Even them trying to litigate things, that doesn't have to go anywhere. They can whine and cry about it all they want. The law is the law. We're just going to have to actually enforce it, and treat these people as they should be. Otherwise, these problems are going to continue to get worse. Because right now, they are lying in wait. They are waiting to have power again. They've already told us what their plans are. We know what they intend to do to us. So it's time to strike first for once. It's time to take out the threat before it can create more problems. We're going to have to start viewing the world this way, or we are going to get steamrolled. We may be able to, hold the House in 2026, maybe hold the presidency in 2028. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But otherwise, they're going to get power again, and they are going to steamroll. We've already seen what they do with power, and now they're even angrier and even more incentivized for revenge. So it's time to start taking the threat seriously.
It's important to remember this, Michael. They are angrier, and they are more intent on revenge, and they're more open about it. They're also losing more and more supporters. They're not getting the money. The donations are drying up. So yeah, they are getting nuttier, but it's almost a they're getting crazier because their base is getting smaller, and the smaller it gets, the crazier it gets. So
again,
they may become let's just hope that we can beat them at the ballot box and.
I think that's why they need to be crushed now before they get to retool, change their message, and a lot of their base comes back because they don't like the Republicans. So right now is when we should have our boot on their throat, finishing them off once and for all. All right, well, we are out of time. So again, thanks for joining. What's that?
Lauber's laws.
Yes. See, again, we need some people like that will actually vanquish our America's enemies once and for all, the foreign enemies and the domestic enemies, and then implement laws that will prevent them from ever seizing power again, because they fight to win. They will go after us 6 ways to Sunday, as they say, but we wimp out every time, and we can't do that any longer. But to our audience, thank you guys for being here today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear.